a biblical perspective on life, culture, and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
In this busy, hectic world in which we live, burning out is becoming more and more common, unfortunately. And so it's really healthy to have a discussion about how we can avoid burnout. And if we find ourselves in that pit, how we get out of that situation as well and get back to a healthy place. My guest today is Dr. Grace Shah. She was a dentist, but she's also a board director now, a professional speaker, and she also helps people work through and in burnout. And Dr. Grace, I want to welcome you into the studios today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Dr. Grace, I guess the question you get asked a lot is, how does someone who used to pull teeth end up pulling people out of a pit called burnout?
Well, thank you for asking that question. I do get asked that a lot. That's actually my party trick to say I'm a dentist and I do all these other things as well. So I am still actually a dentist, if anyone is wondering. I practice 1 day a week because I am on some boards and leadership roles that are in the dental field, and I feel like to be able to serve my colleagues better, it's good to actually be in the profession and among it. And I actually had a bit of experience with burnout as a young graduate. 3 years out of graduating from dental school, I was the dux of my year in dental school as well as in high school. So I was a bit of a high achiever my whole life. And I was pursuing a path of academia and going back and studying more and thinking about how can I achieve more and, do more and have more titles after my name. And that was actually when I had someone who really inspired me and mentored me during uni pass away and was found by the cleaners on a Sunday in the postgraduate room.
Oh, man. They took their own life, you mean?
No, they didn't. It was actually natural causes, but the fact that, they were working there on the weekend when, they had kids, and that just makes you rethink. I think when something like that happens and someone close to you passes away, you go, oh, what am I doing with my life? And why am I doing what I'm doing? And I think knowing why we do what we do is very important, and knowing the purpose of how you spend your time. And I realized at that point that I actually wanted to be a short-term missionary for a long time. That was actually one of my answers to interviews. During interview for from high school to uni, they go, why do you want to do dentistry? And everyone goes, I want to care for people. I want to be a health professional. And my answer was actually I wanted to go on short-term mission trips and pull out lots of teeth.
Oh, well, hang on. Let's stop, Dr. Grace, because we're going a long way forward in your story. I'm just curious. So,
yes.
Because not every high achiever and not every dux has burnout. So what do you think was going on behind the scenes to cause you to burn out when you were achieving so much?
Oh, sure. If we backpedal, now in retrospect, when I know the definition of burnout and I look back, I think I realized that a lot of the signs of burnout were there. And I'm going to quickly look up the definition of burnout so I make sure I quote it correctly. So the current definition by the WHO is actually that burnout is a syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. And if you think about dentistry, it's actually quite a stressful job. We're always under time pressure, and we're actually managing staff and talking to patients, trying to make them comfortable and happy, and people aren't always happy to be at the dentist.
Well, it does feel uncomfortable, Dr. Grace, because you're lying back there, your mouth's open, someone's playing around with some metal implement in your mouth, and your biggest fear is they're going to have to pull a tooth out shortly. So it's a very stressful thing for us patients anyway.
Yes, and I do find a lot of my clinical practice now is counseling people and making them comfortable and not anxious, because once they trust you, you're really in their personal space. Once people trust you, then it's a lot easier actually to communicate what needs to be done. So I think I was in a very high stress environment, and also always, trying to achieve all the time and thinking about what success means. Whereas, later on, I find that success isn't defined by titles or by what you do or what your work is, which is why now I do a bit of everything and I share about it with everyone. Because for a while, I was scared to even share to people that I wanted to do something other than dentistry.
Yeah, other than be successful in the world's eyes. But so what was your motive then, do you think? Why were you trying so hard when you were young?
I think I was trying very hard because I am Asian, as you can see, even though I don't sound it. And I I came from a family of, where my parents were working very hard as migrants, actually. And I was very grateful towards them. And the way in Asian culture to show gratitude to your parents is actually to fulfill their expectations. And I did it very well. And also there was positive reinforcement, because when I achieved, I got praised for it. And that was actually how I defined myself. And that was part of my identity, to always achieve and please other people.
Yeah. So you had a lot of external pressure on you, whether it was spoken pressure or just a subconscious pressure to really achieve and to really strive. So you were really running and trying so hard. And so it led to burnout. So tell us what happened when you had your first burnout. Like, what does that look like?
So, I was actually feeling really disillusioned by, why I was even working as a dentist and what was the point of it. So I actually went on the mission trip, the one that I said I always would do. And I ended up being allocated to a mental health team where I was translating lectures for psychiatrists, psychologists, and social workers overseas.
Where was this? Where did you go?
So we were actually in China running continuing education program in psych hospitals. And I was treating mental health patients with the dental team as well as translating lectures. And I think that makes you realize I actually have transferable skills, and I didn't need to limit myself or my definition of success or what I could do as a dentist was very narrow. And so I came back and started educating myself in other things. So, I've done a board internship now, and I've also done courses in business and also in property development. And that's how I've ended up with this portfolio of different things that I get involved in.
And so do you find now that you're doing all these different things that you probably have more passion for, as opposed to reacting to or responding to an external pressure, that you get more fulfillment, more joy? And obviously the Bible says the joy of the Lord is our strength. So that when you tap into joy,
yes.
Do you feel like you're more immune to burnout when you're tapping into joy?
Yeah, I do find that when I actually say this to a lot of my patients, like when I work part-time as a dentist, I'm actually 100% when I'm here. And I love going to work, and I'm excited to go to work, and I enjoy my work days, whereas when I was working 5 days a week plus teaching at uni 1 day a week, I was not happy to wake up every day to go to work, and I think I'm not my best self. So now whatever
So you're putting that drill in a little bit further each time you're drilling into someone says
we do still practice ethical healthcare, but I definitely was not, as patient with my staff. Yeah, or patients. Yeah. And I wasn't as joyful when there was an emergency to deal with,
But the 1 day a week thing you're doing with joy, I think I know where to come next time I need a dentist. I'll definitely come and look you up. I'll give you some trivia. I've never had a filling my whole life. I think I've been to a dentist like 3 times in the last 40 years or something.
Oh, I was going to say well done on the non-filling part, but the 3 times yeah.
They're working well,
Grace.
They're working well. I brush twice a day, though.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Make sure you floss as well.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
Yes.
But anyway, so we'll carry on. So joy, having that joy and that sense of fulfillment, do you think that's a real key to not burning out?
Yeah, so I actually share this so I do some public speaking now and workplace training on burnout prevention and positive workplace culture. And I actually have an acronym, which is GRACE. And it's very apt because we're on a Vision radio station, and my name is Grace as well. And, we grow up in church, we say, grace is, unmerited kindness from God to sinful humans. And it's very big terminologies that maybe not as relatable to people. But nowadays, I think a lot of people use the word grace in the concept of just being kind to other people as well. And I think the acronym meaning that reminds me to be kind to myself as well as kind to others, because we have unmerited kindness from God. And, the grace, the first one, G, is actually gratitude, which, being grateful for everything and everyone in your life, regardless of your experiences, good or bad. And, we shared a bit before we're going on air on, what I've been through and how I want to use my past painful experiences for good now. And the R is for rest and recharge. And A is to accept the things that you can't change and having the courage that, to change what you can, and wisdom to know the difference. And C is for compassion. So compassion for yourself as well as compassion for others. And E is for encouragement, which, if we read Paul, he says, you need to be an encourager as well as have someone to walk alongside you to encourage you and, to also have someone to encourage you. So mentor and, colleague as well as mentee. So
yeah, I love that. That's so much in that, Dr. Grace. I could spend hours just talking about that. But I do like what you said, being kind to yourself. Why do you think many of us aren't kind to ourselves today?
I think because we have unrealistic expectations of or definition of success, which, is what we touched on before, because I think I used to define success as measuring myself to someone else's standard or the world's standard. But, I really like this definition of success, actually. Like, what is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, and to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, and to appreciate beauty and find the best in others, and to leave the world a bit better, and to know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived, and that is to have succeeded, and that's Ralph Waldo Emerson, yeah.
Love it. I thought that was an extended Chinese proverb. There was so much wisdom in that. I thought, this is good. This is really good. But wonderful, Grace. So number one you've said is obviously just, finding contentment in what you do and enjoying what you do. Number two, being kind to yourself. Give us one more tip on how to avoid burnout.
I think burnout also is knowing your limits and having the right boundaries and learning how to self-care, but with the intention of caring for your team or your patients or, for other people, clients. So a lot of people go, oh, you talk about burnout prevention. You must be a mental health speaker or mental wellness expert. But I find a lot of people use, mental health conditions now as an excuse, sometimes for poor behavior or for not actually supporting their team. So I find in healthcare work, for example, if you call in a sickie and you're not actually sick, the rest of your team is actually burning out, picking up your slack. So actually we self-care in order to actually travel further and to be a better team member. But that requires us to be aware of what our highest and best use is. So sometimes maybe I'm, being asked to serve, for example, in church, in a music team, but I know many other people could maybe fulfill that, but maybe in a board or leadership position or a speaking position where less people are comfortable, that will be my highest and best use, which is why now I've adjusted how I serve or do my evangelism.
Wonderful. So you're really managing yourself well because you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, and you know your capacity.
Yes, that's right.
So wise. Great tips there. Well, Dr. Grace, our time has flown, but I really want to thank you for coming in today and sharing a little bit about burnout. I'm really keen to talk to you again, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation, I should say.
We'd love that.
On 2020.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.